I think that we will just go ahead and call the meeting to order. Um, Thank you, everyone, for being here at our annual general meeting. I am Christy Espinera, and I am the chair of Portugal Democrats Abroad. Our executive committee was elected just almost exactly 1 year ago today. And with that election, our committee came back into compliance as a full DA country committee. I wanted to start the meeting with something that we can see here that this is our agenda. We're going to start with a video. We'll do some introductions and an icebreaker. We have Jen Stepper here from Austria. She's the regional vice chair for EMEA, and she's going to give us an overview of DA Global. Then I will give the chair's report. Our treasurer will give the treasurer's report, and we'll have a bylaws report. And then we'll talk a little bit about getting involved and how you can help if you are interested in doing so. And then we'll do a question and answer. I'm going to try to stay on time with the agenda. We'll see how that goes. Sometimes things arise and, we'll just go with it. But what I wanted to start with is this video. Andres, next slide. Thank you. This video that we're going to show you is only a couple minutes long, and it came 100% from volunteers. One of the things we started doing last fall was what I'm calling volunteer huddles, which are informal volunteer meetings online or virtually on Zoom, where people come together and we talk about what we're doing at that moment and how people can help with organizing things or doing get out the vote or whatever. And at our, I think, December meeting, Nancy Novak, who I don't know if she's on the call right now or not, she's a filmmaker, and she had the idea to do a video of our members talking about their reasons or sharing their reasons to vote from abroad. It was 100% volunteer from concept to execution. And we released it on January 15th, which was International Get Out the Vote, Vote from Abroad Day, that across Democrats Abroad was sort of celebrated. Got a lot of attention on social media, and actually we got a lot of new members and signups of Vote from Abroad from this video. So Andres, you want to go ahead and play that? And I hope you all find it as inspiring as I do. Okay. So, and I'm just to put the link in the chat box if you want to watch that on your own. I think there are several people who were in that video who are also on this call. So thank you to those of you who participated. We had about 20 to 22 people all in all who helped with that project, which is great because it was a great collaborative effort. And I want to thank Nancy again for the idea and for the editing. I think she did a great job. So right now we were going to do a smaller, break into smaller groups, but I think that since we have 14 people, I think that we can maybe just do this as a big group. We are going to, I will start maybe with the ex-con and we can introduce ourselves, say your name, where you live in Portugal, what state you vote in, and then as just kind of a fun kind of icebreaker, you can answer one of these questions. What talent do you wish you had and why? Your favorite Portuguese food, or maybe your favorite president and why? So I will go ahead and start. Andres, I'm wondering, can we do this where we don't have the slide and we can see more people?
Yeah. Yes.
I am putting you on the spot. While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and start. I'm Christy Espinera. I live in Porto. I'm the chair of Democrats Abroad Portugal. I vote in Colorado. And I think the talent that I wish I had would be the talent of being in two places at one time. It's not a real talent, but it sure would be useful. Andres, do you want to go ahead?
Sorry, I was removing the slides. My name is Andres. Now I know, forgot what I'm supposed to say. My name is Andres Espinheira. I'm the vice chair for Gay Portugal. We live here in Porto, vote in Colorado, and I just love all Portuguese food. So I don't have a favorite, but just love the food here. Yep, all of it. So Terry,
I'm good. Yeah, Terry.
Hi, I'm Terry Reck. I am the counsel for this great group. And I live in Campo de Rico. I've been here 2.5 years. And I vote in California. I guess my favorite Portuguese food, because I wish I was a bigger fan than I am, but I love their frango grillado. So, and batatas fritas. So.
All right, how about Erico?
Hi, I'm Erico Talley. I just joined this committee as secretary for the Portugal team, and I'm excited to be here. I live in Lisbon. I vote in California, and I wish I had a talent for languages so that I could magically learn Portuguese overnight.
That's a good one. How about Jen?
Hi, everyone. So my name's Jen. I'm also a California voter, Northern California. But I've lived in both parts of the states. Yeah, so we're going to have to compare notes there later on. I'm living in Austria. I am currently the regional vice chair for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I used to be the chair of Austria. And then before that, I was just a member like everyone else. That's it. Oh, my favorite thing. I've never been to Portugal. I've always wanted to go to Portugal. I will love whatever food you put in front of me, I promise you.
Great. Let's see. I'm just going kind of like the way people are on my screen at this point. So, Roberta.
Hello. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. My name is
Name,
Roberta.
where you live, where you vote.
I live in Lisbon. I moved here last July. This is Ziggy, who just crawled up here. I brought 3 other animals besides him. Grilled sea bass, I guess. I'm I'm kind of with you, Terry. Grilled sea bass, maybe. And as far as bacalaos, the bacalao a la brasse, I kind of like. I used to have a crush on Franklin Roosevelt. But I did when I was hysterical when I read he died. I think I was 12. What was the other thing? What am I? Oh, I'm the phone bank coordinator for Portugal, and because Amy dragged me into it. And I'm back from Malta. I got back Monday, and I'm ready to concentrate a little more than I've been able to. And anyway, nice to see everybody. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay on this entire call, but nice to see everyone. And the video worked really well.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, let's see. How about Diane?
Hi. I've been part of Democrats Abroad in Germany for quite a while. I'm part of the Women's Caucus and I do research for the reproductive justice. I'm always on the losing side of my causes because I'm also on gun control for 22 years. So, but I'm living in Coimbra right now, but I will be moving to Lagos in September.
Great.
Oh, wait, Chris,
and
I
Frank.
forgot to say, I vote in Northern California too. Okay, sorry.
Diane, go ahead.
But I have to say, probably my favorite president is John Adams because I love Abigail.
There you go. Okay, how about Frank?
Okay, I'm Frank Missel. I vote in California too. I was up in the Bay Area and many years ago. Now I live in Lisbon, and I'm trying to help out with the phone banking. It's going slowly, but we'll get there, Roberta, right?
We will.
And this weekend we just tried out. There are many varieties of squid. I mean, there are many varieties of seafood, and so we tried out previously, small squids and then the cuttlefish, and this weekend we tried out pota, which is sort of a little bit larger than the small squids, but there's more to eat, and it's still relatively it doesn't get hard, it doesn't get rubbery, it's easy to cook. So I recommend pota because if you like squid, it's a good deal. Okay.
Excellent. Let's see. It was something just shifted on my screen. So how about John?
Hi, everyone. I'm John. I live in Lisbon. I vote in Arizona,
Ooh,
and yeah,
it's my home
and
state.
sorry?
That's my home state.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was born in California, but my parents moved me and the family to Arizona at some point, and I still vote there. Yeah, I've lived in Lisbon for 9 years now, so I really like all Portuguese food. I guess my favorite is probably Secretos de Porco Preto. And as for talent, I'm going to go with the superpower that Barack Obama wishes he had, which is to speak every language.
That's a good one. Okay, let's see. How about Lisa?
Hi, can you hear me? So my name is Lisa Dixon Gray, and I live in Porto, and vote in Oregon. See, I'm going to get these out of order. My favorite president would be Barack Obama. We fell in love with him, and we wish he were more forceful, but he tread lightly. And anyway, we love Barack Obama. I've kind of got a crush on him. My favorite Portuguese food would have to be grilled sardines and grilled chicken. Both are incredible. and I've never had better chicken in my life than in Portugal. It was amazing. And what have I missed, Christy?
You don't have to answer them all. We could.
Oh, I
go
don't
ahead, that's
remember
fine.
them all. Oh, my talent. I have this weird voice, the vocal thing. It's kind of a neurological vocal thing. So I wish I could sing. I wish I didn't have the vocal thing, but yeah, if I could sing, I would, yeah. So I think that's it.
Thanks. Okay, how about Rick?
Let's see. I'm Rick Poulin, and my husband and I moved here about 2.5 years ago now. How time flies. And let's see. Food. I think the sardines. Um, I was appalled at the fact that I had to eat them, and then I found I love them. So now I'm looking forward to what's the holiday that the sardine festivals and
Oh,
everything.
wow.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that again this year. I hopefully will have it. Um, and Hmm?
When is that?
In June.
It's in
In
June.
June.
And it was the first year. I loved it. Last year, nothing. So what are you gonna do? Um, let's see. Favorite president? Uh, by default, Barack Obama. Um, I agree. I think he could have been much more assertive, and he let some opportunities go. I actually love Jimmy Carter in a lot of ways. Um, and superpower, if I could have it, would be the gift of technology. Um, I do not have it. I wish I did. I am famous for the line, honey, it stopped. Make it go. So, and I too
Thanks.
were from California. We vote in California, and we brought 2 puppies and a 3-legged cat with us.
I have a 3-legged cat who came with us too.
With that, is
We have
that
so much in common.
yeah, yeah.
All
He's the
right,
one.
let's.
We just had to bathe him a few minutes ago, and we had so many things on in the apartment with all 5 of us doing things. The power went out. We were in the dark bathroom with a wet cat in a tub, and the power just went out. It was a joyous experience. Okay, I'm done.
We just lost someone. Maybe they will come back. I say so. How about Phyllis?
Hi, everyone. I live in Matosinhos, which is a little tiny fishing, not so tiny, small fishing village just north of Porto. And I have lived in California. My parents are in Modesto, and I've lived in Arizona, but I actually am a Seattle voter, Seattle, Washington. And I would say that my favorite food in Portugal is peixe grelhado, the dorado or the robalo, and everything that comes with it, usually. It's all good.
I love Dorado. It's excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that that is if the person who dropped off comes back, I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. But otherwise, we're going to move on to the next part of our agenda. And Jen Rockhouse-Stepper, Regional Vice Chair for EMEA, which stands for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So that's the region that we are part of in DA Global. Jen is going to talk, kind of just give us a little intro to DA Global, what they do. Jen works really, really hard, both on the country level where she's still active, and then also at the regional, as a regional leader, and at the global level. So we're really grateful to have her here. Okay, Jen, take it away.
Thank you, Christy. And thank you all for inviting me. It's really nice to be here and see what you all are doing. The video, I mean, Portugal, I have to say, you all have your act together. The video that you put out was fantastic. Other committees, like Austria, we've been talking about it forever. It has not happened. I was so stoked when I saw that Portugal was like, here it is, people, like we've done it. And it was like, oh my gosh. Also, the other way that your XCOM and all of you have your act together is that, I don't know if Christy and Andres, if you've seen the data numbers that have recently been posted, but Portugal has done more. They are leading of all 47 country committees. You all are leading in both membership growth and vote from abroad usage in 2022. So you've had, you can see on the screen, 29 new members. The next closest is Mexico. Mexico's a huge country committee. They've had 18 new members. So leaps and bounds above. And you've gotten 213 Americans to use vote from abroad. Phenomenal. That's 22%. For a bit of perspective, Austria is the next closest, and we've only had 8%. So what you all are doing is fantastic. Keep doing it, because, you know, lots of applause to everyone for your fantastic work. So when Christy invited me to talk to you tonight, I was kind of thinking about back to, you know, the idea was to talk about global and what we do as global. And I was thinking a little bit back to when I was a member, like a lot of you all are, and I didn't really have much of an insight as far as what DA did on the global level in Washington, DC, in all of this. So Democrats Abroad, for a quick overview, Democrats Abroad stands for the Democratic Party Committee Abroad. We are actually a part of, no, don't not yet. Go back a second, Andres. I'll tell you. So we're part of the Democratic Party officially. That means that there's on the global level, there is the executive committee with all of our teams, and this is what I'm going to explain tonight. There are the country committees and the chapters, like with Portugal and all the other 47 countries around the world. And we have DNC members that are part of the Democratic National Committee. As you know, we're 100% volunteer. We advocate for US citizens' ability, the issues that come, and their ability to vote from abroad. So there are a lot of pieces, and I've tried to sort of make it clear because there's a lot of different moving parts. But essentially, it's, you know, that there are all these different pieces of the global organization, and we're all working for the same thing, hopefully. So now, Andres, move it forward. Next slide.
I made you a presenter so that
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
do it
Okay.
on your,
I can
as
do it
you
myself.
like. Yep.
Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Or I can do it.
Can you? Yeah, okay. Can you do it? Because otherwise, is that now? I don't know if everybody's seeing it now, or if it's just me seeing it. Is it the next slide now?
Yes.
Okay, so by the numbers a little bit. So DA is currently has 200,000 members. This has doubled since 2015. But since there are so many Americans living overseas, almost 6 million that are eligible to vote, we know that there's a lot of room for growth. And this is what we intend to do over the next, few years. There are members in 190 country committees, 47 country committees, and there's one exciting new, it's called a transnational country committee, where it's different countries made together. This is the Caribbean. We have 21 delegates, and in an election year, these delegates are
inside.
elected to vote for the president. And they go to the Democratic National Convention. And a really exciting thing, and I think that Portugal, if I'm not mistaken, did this in 2020, is that there's a global presidential primary, which is essentially that Democrats Abroad members get to act like a state and get to vote in like a state primary for who we think the presidential candidate should be. So this is always a really exciting thing to be part of. When I was in Austria member and not yet really involved, it was always the question, like, why why do the country committees need money? What are they raising money for? And it's also then, what does global raise money for? So I think probably everybody on this call understands what you raising money for as a country committee, right? You need to do postcards, or you need to do events and stuff like this. On the global level, we're really raising money for keeping the website up and running, which is where democratsabroad.org, and this is where, of course, every country committee has their page, where events are posted, where our issues are posted, and all of this. Part of that is something called Nation Builder, where we have all of our communications to our members in our database. There's also the Vote from Abroad website and the voter support help that goes along with that. And that, of course, is our big outreach and what gets us what gets us sort of the attention to people back home, that the votes that we bring back to elections. We have a call hub phone banking system that we're paying for, and this is where DA members, and I'm really glad to hear that you have a phone banking coordinator. This is where DA call hub volunteers are calling through this system to reach all of our members living abroad and voting, and reminding them to request their ballot, reminding them to, have they sent in their ballot. And this year we're really focusing on battleground states. So this will be super important this time around. And then finally, the other place that Global spends a lot of money is for media ad buys. So in 2020, across Europe, in major cities, there were big billboards put up that would advertise that people can vote from abroad, that people can use, that so many Americans don't realize that they're allowed to vote when they're living overseas, or if they've been living overseas for a long time. And the other thing was, social media had a lot of ad buys. Canada they actually wrapped buses with Vote from Abroad branding on the border between Canada and the United States, and because there are so many Americans that are living there. And so it really boosted the overseas turnout from Canada because of those buses that they had going. So all of these different things are why we are always asking people, become a sustaining donor for Global, give us, your cup of coffee a month and help us do all of these different things. So moving on, and I guess I can do that. So some of these different pieces now, and there are a lot of different moving parts and pieces in the Global organization. As I said before, there's the DNC, there are country committees in the chapters, and there's this global organization that's made out of all these different parts. One of the most vibrant parts of this are the caucuses. And the caucuses, of course, are sort of the issue-driven, grassroots, activist arm of Democrats Abroad, where it's really that people get to focus and do events and get other people that are like-minded to focus on these issues. Yeah. So as you can see, there are a lot of them, and there are always more coming into being formed. And most recently this year are the Disability Caucus has recently been formed, the Environment and Climate Crisis Council, they're called, and the Seniors Caucus have all been formed this year. So these caucuses, they all welcome allies. You don't have to be a woman to be in the Women's Caucus. You don't have to be a veteran to be in the Veterans Caucus, right? If you're an ally from them, please go to the website and join them. There's strength in numbers, and everybody, the more ideas and the more numbers that are behind these caucuses, the better they do. The second piece, or another piece, that really grew out of the 2020 election are the state teams. And the state teams then were really, because we had such an incredible outreach and voter turnout in Georgia, in the special election in Georgia. And so the state teams are kind of twofold. On the one hand, they are to increase DA's profile with the state legislatures and state politicians. And on the other hand, they work to reach out to Americans that maybe aren't in DA, but are interested in what's happening in their home state, or they're looking at a ballot, they want to vote in the primary, they have no idea of who the people are, they have no idea of the issues, and so they've been making these meet and greets that have been fantastic events where they have all of the different primary candidates coming on and discussing the issues, talking about who they are, what they believe in, why people should vote for them, and really sort of activating and getting people involved in this. And so the state teams are fantastic. I think John said he's from Arizona. There's a state team in Arizona. There's a state team for actually, I didn't write it down here, but for California, because there are a couple of California districts that are going to be very contested in 2022. And of course, Florida, all the others. If you're in a state that you think, Colorado, for example, is important. If you're in a state where you want to be part of this, or also, again, if you just want to join them, please look on the website to find the information for them. They're very interesting events that they're putting together. And then another piece is the GOTV coordination and trainings, of course. So you have a phone bank trainer. These people are really helping getting these trainings together to make sure that you have the people on the ground that know how to do voter registration, know how to do the call hubbing, making sure that people actually have the correct information and feel comfortable doing these things. The volunteers that do this actual work are the nuts and bolts of the organization. And so they're a super important part of all of this. Another point, so I said there are lots of pieces, right? So another piece of this whole puzzle is the advocacy work that happens. And this is something I wasn't really very aware of until I joined the International XCOM. I kind of knew about it, but it wasn't on my radar so much. Yes, you can join a state team even if you're not in. Allies are always welcome, even if you're not in that. So the advocacy, so for example, one of the things, let me go back a second. So the advocacy things is that Democrats Abroad has a global meeting every year. Every second year, this global meeting is held in Washington, D.C. And during that time, we go to Congress and to senators' offices, and we do something we call door knocking. And in these door knocks, we bring forward the issues that are important to Americans living overseas and bring them to their attention and advocate for what we think should be happening and what we think is needed. So some of these things happen all the time. So for example, the COVID-19 task force is something that came up with Vietnam recently, that they pointed out that there were a lot of US citizens in different parts of the world that were really being put to the back of the line as far as vaccines were concerned, that they were not going to be accessible to them. They could not fly to the States for multiple reasons. And so this was really a survey was done, and a lot of media outreach was done, and it got a big splash article in either the New York Times or the Washington Post or something. That the Medicare portability is something that's new and advocates for benefits, for Medicare benefits for Americans living overseas. This is super important. There's now a new test project that's happening. So this has been taken now up to the legislature, up to Congress, and it's being worked on. So this is a really important new thing that we're involved in. The reparations task force just recently put together a resolution and had it approved at the Democratic National Committee meeting that happened in March. So that was exciting because that got us some attention that we were doing this thing that actually was voted on and approved. The taxation task force does a lot of advocacy. They tend to be a lot of questions about FATCA and overseas filing and all this kind of stuff. They have a lot of events that get a lot of outreach with people that aren't members, because taxes are always the question that draws people, and people want to find out more about. So that's a great thing. And then finally, I think something that's closest to my heart, because it's sort of where my involvement in DA started, was the idea of the people that work on the voting rights and voter protection. And so this is really about when, so the call hub people are going to be doing different things. So you'll be calling members and reminding them. And this is a separate part of it, where it's really that some people, when they're voting, for one reason or another, they're being prevented from voting. And this group this team. They go to the local election officials, they go to the state secretaries, and they say, hey, you know what? We know these Americans with my daughter, it was from Pennsylvania. We know these Americans from Pennsylvania are no longer being allowed to register to vote online like they should be allowed to do because they have a computer that's overseas or something. And then they help find a solution. A lot of times this issue is they're not even aware of the issue, and they help then to find a solution. So I think this is a super important thing that we're working on, that we do regularly. So the other piece is the Democratic National Committee. There, as I just mentioned, there was a meeting in March. In that meeting, 4 DA members were elected to serve on DNC committees. Bravo, because once again, this is showing that we are out there and people are recognizing us as a force to deal with. And in 2021, part of this is that we received a $300,000 DNC grant for human capital. So all of this is that there's now this recognition of Democrats abroad as a force that brings home the vote from overseas, right? And really changes elections. And this is what happened in the 2020 election cycle. We were the margin of victory in Georgia for Senators Ossoff and for Warnock. And we were also in Arizona, the margin of victory for Senator Mark Kelly. So this made a difference. This flipped the Senate. And this is why then now in Congress and senators and the DNC, they're listening to us, right? They're saying, hey, you guys are actually great at what you're doing, and you're great at reaching Americans overseas. So this is a really interesting little chart. It's a little small, I'm sorry about that. But this chart, it shows that, the turnout since 2016, the turnout nearly doubled in many of the battleground states. Wisconsin, it was 131% difference of overseas turnout. But in Arizona and in Georgia, for example, it was over 50% turnout. So I think this is really an important lesson to take home, and I hope it inspires all of you motivates you a little bit for all the work that we've got ahead of us. It's important that we do it again in 2022. We're really focusing on battleground states this time around because we see the difference that it actually makes. And yeah, so I just want to say, there's lots of factors in all of this, but that help us to advocate for Americans living overseas and also to get out the vote and get out the turnout. But at the bottom of all of it it's really the volunteers on the ground who are making the difference in registering the voters, who are making the difference in doing the calling and all of these things that make all of this work. So I'd like to thank you because you all are already way ahead of that curve and doing a lot of great work already. And so thank you for inviting me again tonight. And I think unless there are questions, that's it.
Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Yeah. Any questions?
Thanks, Andres. There's a question in the chat box about state teams. Do you know if people can join more than one state team?
Yeah, you can join more than one state team. So the state teams are really and all the caucuses and it's really an allies thing. So if if you're there to help and can be part of it, you're very welcome to come. And you're always welcome everybody's welcome to the events if, curious. Very welcome. Yeah, for Arizona and California, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. That was really helpful, I think, in putting all the pieces together on how
so many pieces. I hope it wasn't too
global. It's a lot of pieces. I know it's a lot, but no, that's great. It's good.
Thanks for having me on. And I'm going to take off, but yeah, thanks for having me. Have a wonderful AGM, and it's great to see Portugal doing such a fantastic job. Bravo to
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thanks.
you take care. Bye.
Thanks. All right, we're going to go on to the chair's report. So that's me. And so as I said earlier, we were just elected, our ExCom was just elected about 1 year ago today. And Democrats Abroad Portugal had been and what they call an out of compliance country committee, meaning that for 4 years or so, we were not an official group. We didn't have elected officers. We didn't have resources and infrastructure that DA Global gives us access to. So after that election, we had a period of time where really what the XCOM was focusing on was a lot of behind the scenes work, getting ourselves organized, getting the infrastructure up and running, figuring out how we wanted to work together. I should mention that Lucy Dick was elected secretary a year ago. She had to step down due to family reasons. And that is, so we recently appointed Erico to replace her. We're really grateful for Lucy and the work that she was able to do for us in the time that she was able to serve. Also, Amy Kristauer was not an elected officer, but she was our GOTV coordinator. Amy also had to step down recently due to work constraints, but we are incredibly grateful to Amy for not only having spent the last few years when Portugal was out of compliance, kind of keeping the fire burning and keeping people engaged, but also for putting the GOTV team together this year and laying the groundwork for that. So you can see on this slide some of the things that we have worked on. We first wanted to talk about how do we work together. So we had a community agreement that our XCOM all abides by in terms of how do we work together? What does it look like when we have conflict? What do we, how do we address that? We did some goal setting. There's a lot of back-end infrastructure that has to happen, setting up the email domain, our Google Drive and Slack. Andres is kind of our tech guru on all of that. We needed to be trained on the database systems that DA Global uses. We wanted to start engaging volunteers. We've done some fundraising, which I will talk about a little bit later. And we also attended the DA Global Annual General Meeting, which is a 2 full day online meeting that Andres and I went to, and we do regional meetings also. Next slide. This for me is the fun stuff. Our goals in coming in as a new executive committee, we really wanted to connect with and engage with our members all around the country. Obviously, this was a strange time. We had COVID in our midst, and we were not able to do as many on the ground in-person events as we probably would have liked to, but I think we did pretty darn good for the constraints that we were under. These are some of the events we had this year. We had Alicia hosted a coffee in Viseu. Our friends Mark and Terry led a democratic dog walk in Sintra. We had the DA Global Taxation, Carmen Polche, who is the chair of the Global Taxation Task Force, gave a webinar. We hosted a wine tasting in Porto. There was Terry and Stephen Cecilia organized a meetup in Lisbon at a Miradoro. Carol and Tamar organized a lunch and a history tour. Our member John in Olhão hosted a coffee, and Martha Amadera hosted a coffee. When I looked at all of these events and kind of counted in my head, like, okay, how many people were involved? It was well over 100 people who were either helping organize or attended an event. I think that was pretty great for a year like we had. We're going to talk later about getting involved, but please know if there's something you would like to see in your area, or even better, if you'd like to just organize something, it can be as simple as I'm going to be at this cafe on this day. I'd love to have people join me. Let us know. Next slide. That's kind of third bucket, I guess, is volunteering. So DA is 100% volunteer organization. Without volunteers, we really can't do anything. And I am absolutely thrilled and proud of how people in Portugal have stepped up this year. In November, we had our first volunteer huddle, which is kind of, I mentioned earlier, an informal meeting in which we connect and organize like what's going on now, what kind of events do people want to do, what are our GOTV needs, things like that. That's what that video came out of, the Why We Vote video. Our GOTV team got organized and kicked off thanks to Amy. We have this incredible team of postcarders thanks to Terry Recht, who has really kind of spearheaded this. We are coloring and going to mail a postcard to every single member. We have a mailing address for in Portugal, and these postcards, there's studies that show that people who get these hand-colored, handwritten postcards, that they vote, and they tend to request the ballots and vote at a higher rate. So we are working on that, getting those out within probably the next month or so. We have a phone making team that is kicking off. I mentioned our vote event organizers. We have 3 volunteers who have been helping with social media. Terry Blakely and Lisa Dixon Gray have been posting to a lot of the Facebook groups that reach Americans in Portugal, just helping remind people that get out, you need to request your ballot and vote. That is why we have that number that Jen talked about us being the biggest number of requests on voteformabroad.org. I think it's social media. And another volunteer, Rachel, helps with the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And then we have our XCOM, of course. And so when I added all this up, I found that actually over 100 people had either attended a volunteer meeting, organized something, created a post, phone banked, or done something. So I think that's also pretty phenomenal, especially for a brand new country committee. Advocacy. So Jen touched on this a little bit. We did host a tax advocacy event that kind of gave the rundown on what DA is doing for taxation issues. We would really like to do more of this, and we have we are looking for people who would like to help with this area, people who are active in the caucuses to help keep us informed and let us know what's happening in those caucuses and what we can be sharing and amplifying through our communications. Diane, who I think is still on the call, is helping as a liaison to the Women's Caucus. And Rachel is our Youth Caucus liaison and LGBTQ. Next slide. And these are just, Jen mentioned all of these caucuses, but these are the caucuses that are available within DA. If any of these resonate with you, as Jen said, these are allyship organizations. You don't have to be identifying with these particular identities to join. They're open to all. So consider that. Next slide. Okay, I think Andres, were you going to speak to this part?
No, you were.
Okay, I can do that. So one of the things that we have to do as official Democrats Abroad Country Committee, we have to certify our membership, and that means we have a certain number of members. If they have not been, if they haven't opened our emails, called us, answered phone banking, if they haven't had any contact with us in 4 years, they go into what's called an expiring list, and we have to try to reach them and confirm that they still want to be members, that they're still living in Portugal, that they're still interested in being DA members. So Andres actually led this effort, and we did this certification. So we have 890 officially certified members as of February 1st. We had 120 members join in the last year. That's 15% growth, and we are currently at 923 members. We hope and expect that we will surpass 1,000 members by our next AGM. I think that's very doable. This touches on what Jen mentioned. So these are numbers in relation to other countries in EMEA. So in terms of our just raw number of verified members, we are number 18. So we are the 18th largest committee. However, we, as a percentage of our membership, are number 5 in completed votefromabroad.org registrations. And that is, that's a raw number, right, Andres? The number 5?
That's not
Yeah.
just as a percentage.
That's not
total.
percentage. So
Yeah,
you can
that's
see in
total.
this column, you know, 1,000 people in the UK have requested their ballot at votefromabroad.org. 221 people from Portugal have. I put this number 5 in raw numbers, but as a percentage of our members, like Jen said, it's like roughly 22, 23% of our members of a vote from as a percentage of our members have requested their ballots. So that is a really excellent achievement. I think we really kind of punch above our weight for a small country. It just shows how engaged people are and how engaged our volunteers are in getting out the word about Vote From Abroad and Democrats Abroad. Okay, next slide. And I believe, yes, Linda Wiggett is here. Linda is our treasurer. And she is going to give this sort of quick treasurer's report. Linda, are you ready?
I am. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So, you know, we have fairly simple financial statements. They're fairly easy to look at, but you can see kind of over on the left-hand side of the slide that we've had 828 euros of cash donations that have come in, and then 213 euros of what we call gifts in kind. This is when somebody donates items or a service to us rather than straight cash. So you can see that we've had a valuation of 213 euros for that. Then out of that total value of 1,015, we've spent 461 euros, and you can see that breakdown over on the bottom right-hand side of the slide. Various items that we've purchased or services that we've used in the categories that you see there. The remaining funds still remain in the bank account for future use.
Great. Yeah, I think it's a pretty simple treasurer's report. I wanted to note that of the remaining funds, we have earmarked most of it for postage for our postcarding efforts, so that we will still be in need of more funds after those are spent. Thank you, Linda. Next, and that's where we come in to talk about donations. So there were some changes on the global level as to how country committees hold funds, and these changes were related to FEC compliance. So there are laws governing how money needs to be accounted for if it is going to be spent on election-related activities. So we kind of had put a little bit of hold on our active fundraising until that got worked out. And what has happened is that DA Global has now given us the ability to have a donation link on the DA Global website. Anything that's donated there will go, it goes into DA Global, but it's allocated to DA Portugal, and we will get a report of all of our donations. And then we have the oversight and the ability to then spend that money on whatever GOTV efforts and other kind of infrastructure expenses are necessary. So you may not have seen this before, but if you were to go to that link, democratsabroad.pt/donate, it points you to the page there that is on the DA Global website. And it's a little too blurry to see. Our goal right now is to raise $2,000 this year. And I think we're at what, 160? Is that right, Andres, as of today?
Yes.
This is on top of what Linda has already talked about. That money came into our Portugal bank account. And we are transitioning away from using the Portugal bank account and towards using this global account. So it is very easy. Andres verified that you can use even a Portuguese debit card. Is that right, Andres, to donate?
Yep.
Yeah. So
with and this was with a Portugal address.
Yeah. So there's a number of ways that you can donate at that link. If you would consider something like $5 or $10 a month, that would be a huge help. The sustaining donors really help us kind of keep things going. So that is all I will say about that for now.
And here comes the exciting part of this meeting.
Yes. So I'm going to turn it over to Andres and Terry to talk about our bylaws.
So yeah, Terry's pointed at me. So we had a question from Lisa. The website is in dollars, those donations. So our bylaws are from, actually the DA Portugal bylaws are from 2007, from before when the country was first constituted into DA, then went out of compliance, and it was out of compliance for many years. So the bylaws have not been amended whatsoever. So we have the oldest bylaws out of all of DA. So we started a process of revising those bylaws. We took what is the current DA country committee template, and then we made some changes based on what Austria had done and what Norway had done, plus also our own needs. And this new set of bylaws covers things from simple stuff like being able to have Zoom meetings, right? How do we assemble, voting procedures. It covers, for example, the fact that starting next year, we're going to get an additional DPCA representative. Right now, only the chair and vice chair in Portugal get votes with DA Global, but next year, because of the accounting rules and how many members you have, we're going to get an extra member, where our bylaws don't even sort of have any process for how that person gets elected or anything like that. So, so we have a lot of changes now. The challenge, in our view, is that this is not just amending the bylaws. We're not changing a bylaw here and a bylaw there. It's a complete rewrite. So what we want to do is, propose a process by which we're going to get this new bylaws, amended. And what I'd like to propose is we're going to distribute a draft, the current draft that we have, that Terry and I worked on, to all the members in DA Portugal, and solicit feedback and comments to bylaws and democratsabroad.pt. If you're interested in being part of the bylaws committee, because you really love legal stuff or you really love to work in bylaws, send me an email. We will review any feedback and comments from folks, and then we'll submit a final draft to all members on May 20th, with the goal that on another general meeting on June 22nd, we will vote on this sort of final set of bylaws. So this way, we give everyone essentially 90 days to review all the changes, plenty of time. But instead of going, like we actually attended the DA Germany process for amending their bylaws. Of course, they were amending, I think, were only 4 bylaws, but they went one by one, going over the amendment, voting on that amendment. If we were to do that item by item, we would spend, I don't know, an entire week. So I'm hoping that this process gives people plenty of time but then we will just vote on the final draft in its entirety. Any thoughts, comments on that process from anybody?
How can we give feedback even if we're not on the bylaws committee? Is there a mechanism to give feedback?
Yeah, so you can just send an email with your feedback to bylaws@democratsabroad.pt. Once, and we'll.
How many bylaws are there? I mean, if the Germans can get by with 4, why do we need pages and pages of bylaws?
Oh no, the Germans got by with 4 changes because they already had 20 or 30 pages worth of bylaws already in place that they amend every year. In our case, we have not done anything.
I understand.
So no, we'll send the current draft to everyone. If you have any feedback on that, any thoughts, just and we'll put in the instructions on the email, and then we'll send a final draft on May 20th.
Andres, this is Erica. A quick question, just so that I understand that. Is there going to be a preliminary draft that is going to be sent to all members?
Yes, this week. So a preliminary draft is going to get sent this week, and then a final draft, which will incorporate any feedback from folks, that will then get sent May 20th, giving 30 days from the final draft for a final vote.
Got it. Thank you.
So
I think Lisa has a question.
When you send the bylaws out, are you going to be providing some context to people, like they haven't been revised, in 2007, they're out of compliance, we have to do a rewrite, etc.?
Yes. So it doesn't come. Yeah.
Thanks.
And also cover in a little more sort of detail the nature of the changes, right? Like what is going to, what are we proposing and why we need that.
Right.
So I would like to sort of motion formally, since we have quorum, to adopt this process for amending the bylaws by unanimous consent.
I'll second.
Can I have a second? Okay, Lisa seconds. So Andres moves. Lisa seconds. Are there any objections to adopting this process? If you object, please type "I object" into the chat box. Okay, seeing and hearing no objections to adopting this process, the motion to adopt the process is approved by unanimous consent. That will be recorded in the minutes. And so we have agreed that this is the process that we will follow. If anyone is curious, we said this at the beginning of the meeting, our current bylaws that we are operating under today state that a quorum for official purposes of conducting business for DA Portugal is 5 people. So we have exceeded that. All right, thank you. All right, we just have just a little bit more and then we are open for chat and discussion if anyone still has the stamina to stay on and chat. Of course, I've said this already. We are a 100% volunteer organization. Anything we do is because our members like you have stepped up to help, to share ideas, to brainstorm, to engage, to connect. And so I wanted to end this meeting with just some sharing some of the ways that you can help. If you don't know exactly how you want to help or what you could do, that is totally fine. I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone who's like, I'm interested, but I don't know, how I would best fit in. I am happy to talk with you about that, and it can be anything small, from small to big. So if you email volunteer@democratsabroad.pt, I can sign you up. to just join our general volunteer list. And we have right now about 105 names on that list. These are people who have said, yeah, I want to volunteer at some point. I don't know exactly for what, but that's just a special email list. So you would get more information about our volunteer huddles or any opportunities that arise. Or to join the GOTV team, let us know if that's a specific interest of yours. I want to highlight that there is a GOTV team meeting next week on March 30th. We are kind of rebooting and regrouping since we have sadly lost Amy as our GOTV coordinator for now. Even though we understand why she had to step back, her work demands on her time are just absolutely extraordinary. We are going to kind of chat next week and see, you know, what does it look like moving forward. We also, this Saturday, if you happen to be in Porto, we are having a postcard party. We're going to get together at the Mercado Bom Sucesso and color postcards. Lisbon has a huge head start on this, but we have 400 postcards that we are hoping to get done. So if you are around, we would love to see you there. Andres is putting these links in the chat box. If you are interested in organizing an event, we can connect you with people in the area to help. Some of the things we've done, Democratic Dog Walk, Earth Day is coming up. Something along those lines of doing a beach cleanup or some kind of service on Earth Day would be really cool. We are going to try to have 4th of July events, and we have someone in Porto, Phyllis, is kind of spearheading that. And I saw it in the chat box that Lisa, you said you could help, so I'm going to put you down for that. Pride is coming up. It would be really cool to have a Democrats Abroad Portugal presence at any Pride events in your area. Grab coffee if there's issues that you want us to do a webinar or talk on. If you know someone who's a great speaker or someone who's really into a certain issue and can talk about it, we'd love to support that and have an event. If you are able to donate, we've already shared that link. We also do need some leadership, and we can ease you into it. We will help with every step along the way. We do need a GOTV coordinator. It'd be really cool to have a volunteer coordinator, kind of like a touch point person who, when someone says, I want to volunteer, that person would just kind of help connect them with what would work for them. A program coordinator would be great also. If you have any interest in any of those, you can email me, Christy@democratsabroad.pt. And, last but certainly not least, if you do nothing else, tell every American you know in Portugal about votefromabroad.org. Votefromabroad.org, and that you need to go there every year and request your ballot. And, that word of mouth is huge. It's a big country in a way, but it's a small country. And I think that we all connect with Americans on different levels. People know each other, and it's really important to get that word of mouth out. All right, so I would love just to hear if anyone has any questions, comments. Andres and I will stay on longer, but we'll keep it open for now. So Andres, do you want to, we could stop the slide and then maybe we can see faces again.